Help support the companies that support our community. Alright, I'm not even sure what to call this thing. It is a giant fir ball. It is a piece of fir, and I have it mounted in between centers, and I started out with the bowl gouge. So the tree or limb is about 3 inches around, and it ran down through the center of it, and then this mass grew around it. So as I get into it, you'll be able to kind of see that limb right there in the center. That runs all the way through to the other side. So the whole thing is about 35 pounds, and I'm getting the bottom of it trued up and gonna put a tenon down on it. So the wood is really just pretty plain, so I left the natural part on it just to give it some character. And it was a long process, so I kind of skipped through. Robin would come out every once in a while and film. I'm putting a tenon on it now right now because I didn't have the lathe up above about 200 for the whole thing. Even cleaning out the inside of it because there's really just no way to get it true. So I want to put a tenon on it so I can grab it and clean out the inside of it. So originally I was going to try and make a vase out of it, but it's just there because the wood is so plain, there's just not a lot of character, and I have to take off, you know, some of the outside. So I decided to go with a bowl. So after I get this tenon turned down, I'm just turning down the excess on the end of it here. The whole thing is kind of out of balance. I will put it in the chuck and we'll start working on getting it cleaned out, which was a whole nother process. So it is fir, so it doesn't cut real well. I've done a couple of like 2x4 projects. Made like a wiener dog years ago out of 2x4s. And it actually finishes pretty nice. It sands really easy. You can kind of see the torn grain there, and it doesn't take much to get it cleaned up and sanded. But it is definitely heavy. Alright, we'll get it in the chuck. So on this part I used 3 different methods to get this thing cleaned out on the inside. I started out with the bowl gouge to get the top of it trued up, and then we'll switch. And because it is so heavy too, I left the tailstock up as long as I could. I just kind of left that center point in it till I was about halfway down inside of it. So, and like I said too, there are some jumps in the footage because it was, I don't know, 3-4 hours, I guess, working on this thing. So Robin would just pop in and film a little bit and then pop out. All right, so this is the very top of it, and you'll be able to see too. So this was another piece of wood I got from that buddy of mine. So his uncle had drilled some holes right down into that limb to try and relieve some of the pressure to get it to not crack. And on the top part of it here, they didn't go down in there very far, and I was able to turn them out pretty quick. But on the other end where I put the tenon, I should have flipped it around and done it the other way, but they went in a little deep, and I'll show you. I have to fill those here at the very end of it, but they came out pretty good. I just used some CA glue on it. So I started out with the bowl gouge and got a lot of it cleaned out towards the top. Then I switch over to the number 1 hollower here in a second and work on it some more. And I did switch tool rests and put a curved tool rest in there so I could get down in there a little further with some support. And then once I got in their ways, I kind of undercut that tenon that's running down in the center, and then just took my mallet and pop that out of there. Then we can get in there and get the tool rest right up inside of there. And what I did is I switched to the hollowing system. So this is Tim Yoder's, the elbow tool. And so I finished the rest of the bowl with this. So I keep moving that tool rest up, get it as close as I can, and I got the whole thing cleaned out with this. And like the bowl I did, or the platter I did last week, there are some thin spots in it, and there's some thick spots. I think originally when I was going to make a vase out of it, I was just going to pop through all of those thin spots, the valleys on the outside of it. But I'm going to do a bowl. I think this will make a great Halloween candy bowl. So I went ahead and changed plans and left it all solid. After I got it down there, I went ahead and started sanding. So I started out with 80 grit. It just got it cleaned up, and it like I said, it's fur. It sands really fast. It didn't take very long. Once I got the inside sanded, the rim is still really thick. So Robin and I were looking at it, and I went ahead and took a few more passes on the rim to try and bring that down a little bit without busting through the side. So I did that, and then switched back and started and just sanded up the rim of it. Once I had the inside done, we'll go ahead and flip it around. So I just put a block of wood in there with some of those non-skid pads on it, and brought the tailstock back up and started cleaning up the outside of it. So I took a few more passes across the bottom to get it cleaned up the best I could, and then we'll start taking that tenon off of there. And with this, same thing, used the sanding pad, started out with the 80 grit, and just got it cleaned up, and then ran through all the rest of grits up to, I just went to 320 on it. It really, because it is fur, you're not really going to get a high gloss or any kind of gloss really on it. So, and I'm just putting oil on it afterwards, so you really don't need to keep going. So I just brought down the last part of the tenon with the detailer and got that cleaned up best I could. And then we'll just cut that little nub off with the saw. You can kind of see a little dark spot on that little last bit of tenon. That's one of the holes that it was drilled all the way through. And then to clean up that recess, I went ahead and put a sanding pad on the Jacobs chuck, and again just started with the 80 grit and ran through a couple of grits on that. get it cleaned up. And then to fill the holes, there's actually 3 of them down in there. So I just kind of packed some shavings in it with a pencil, put some glue on it, and then put some more shavings in it, and I just packed them in there about 3 or 4 times. Just a little bit of glue, shavings, a little bit of glue, shavings. And then soaked it down with walnut oil. So I'm not going to sand with this or anything. And the reason I didn't go through the whole process of sanding as I was going is because I realized I had to fill those holes in at the end. So just used paper towel and wiped it all down. And I wiped down the outside of the bowl too, and it really darkened it up a little bit, which was nice. There we go, it is all done. So again, it is a giant piece of fir. I'm not sure actually what caused that. It basically just grew new wood right around that limb that was going through the center of it. It's it's not like a giant pitch ball or anything like that. So something happened, and it was pretty consistent too. It's it is out around a little bit, but it's not that bad. So it is 9.5 inches tall and about 12 inches across, and it still weighs, I don't know, probably about 6-7 pounds. So I couldn't go down hollowed out too much, because especially that spot right there in it is it goes in pretty deep, so it's pretty thin actually right there. But I really wanted to see. He gave this to me a while ago when he came over one time. We were talking, and really wanted to see what it was going to look like, and I wasn't sure what to do with it. It's been sitting around for a couple of months actually in the shop, and I just wasn't sure what to do with it. But looks kind of cool on the outside. I think it would make a great Halloween candy bowl. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Everybody take care, have a great weekend, and we will see you next time.